Ryan Fraser's 95th minute winner meant Southampton extended their unbeaten run to 4 matches with a win away at Hull City. Glenn, they love leaving it late. That's the third stoppage time winner of the season, but a win away from home is always going to be a decent result.
Absolutely. And you said at the start, Hull hadn't lost at home all season. It's I always feel like it's difficult for us, the frozen wastelands of the north. Whenever we travel up there, it always seems like it adds something extra to the difficulty of the game. Typically, the weather was horrendous, and so that probably didn't help much either. But I thought the first half was fairly even. We were a little bit loose. We allowed Hull sort of like far too many efforts on our goal. And we didn't look. I didn't feel that we looked after the ball well enough. We seemed to give it away too often. But took the lead obviously with Walker Peters proving that he's by far certainly the best attacking right back in the division. Putting that on the plate for Smallbone, decent finish. But again, we caved not long afterwards. I've watched the goal back a few times, and I don't think it's as bad as I initially thought it was. I think
It was just 5. Was it 5 minutes after Smallbone's goal?
5 minutes after, when the cross eventually comes over from the left wing. There's a bit of a lucky break of the ball as Harwood Bellis goes in with whoever the Hull striker was, and Delap sticks it in the net. Fair enough. Hull were probably the better side at the end of the first half, but and probably at the start of the second as well. But again, similar to the Rotherham game, there seems to be these sort of distinct phases where we're playing well, and then suddenly we're not. But with this game, it was the other way around. And for the last half an hour, I felt like we kind of took over and looked the more likely to win it. There was always a threat from Hull, but they didn't really test Bazunu out much in the second half. And goalkeeper made a couple of decent saves, so it looks like we're in a little phase at the moment where the goalkeepers we're playing against are having worldies and pulling out saves that they shouldn't really be pulling out. The one from Alcaraz was a really decent save down low, and then the subs came on and made a difference. I mean, we saw Ryan Fraser playing in a sort of number 8 role, which I'm not sure was thought about too much beforehand. But fair play to him. Turns up, and that's a lovely finish and great bit of play by Flynn Downs to set it up. So at the end of the day, there were elements of the performance that weren't great. There were elements of it that were very good, but at the end of the day, we've stayed in it. If we got a draw, it wouldn't have been a bad result. But to nick it at the end is great stuff.
Steve, Russell Martin mentioned the fans that made the trip. Storm Babette in the end, keeping you at bay. It wasn't to be yesterday. How far did you actually get?
I didn't get very far. I got as far as King's Cross, which, given that I live in South London, isn't a particularly strenuous journey. Basically got to King's Cross, and while some seem to manage to fight their way through, I'm not quite sure how, because nobody seemed to be moving anywhere. Maybe there was some sort of secret entrance through the first class lounge or something like that that I didn't know about. But basically we couldn't even get to the ticket barriers, let alone board a train. So in the end, I think a few of us made the call relatively early in the end. Actually, it's probably only about 10:10, so only 20 minutes after the train should have gone. The rest drove up. I think they got in the ground about 3 or 4 minutes into the game, so they did all right, really. In that situation, they got a little bit fortunate that there was nothing particularly bad on the M1, which is always the risk and likelihood on days like yesterday. I had to take the sort of secondary hit of going and watching some really low quality League Two football instead.
But you caught up with the game.
Yes.
A win, but it's safe to say you didn't miss a classic. What did you make of it yesterday?
I mean, the highlights made it look like a great game, as they tend to do. But it looked like an open game. It looked like kind of. I imagine this sort of game against opponents who want to play in a very similar way is probably Russell Martin's absolutely ideal game to be involved in, because you've got willing opponents who want to play in a similar manner to us, and it is then about which players are better. There's no kind of dark arts going on, really. There's no worry that that time's being taken out of the game through nefarious means, and both teams just want to play. And given the weather conditions, the pitch was slick, perfect for passing when you've got players who are good at it, which both sides seem to have. And yeah, as a result, it meant for an entertaining sort of encounter where either side could have won it if Hull had been a little bit more clinical with a couple of little breakaways they had either side of half time, then they could have been out of sight at one point. But they didn't. They didn't really, even as you say, didn't really test Bazunu much. Allsop at the other, the lad at the other end was far more busy. So I think by the end of it, as Glenn rightly said, I think we were probably deserving of it. The way it comes about with more or less the last kick of the game is obviously the massive kick in the teeth for the home side, but it's absolutely perfect for us. You see the absolute limbs in that away end when the ball goes in is great to see.
We've been on the other end of that a few times.
Oh
haven't we?
yes,
So...
yeah. There was a great clip I saw somebody post on Twitter this morning, which was filmed from behind the dugouts. So I assume it must have been a home fan who was filming. It's like, I'd never understand why home fans are filming the away side attacking, because you know what's going to happen. And it's just like, well, as soon as that's happened, should you just press delete? It's like, oh yeah,
don't share it.
Yeah, I'll forget about having embarrassed myself by filming this. But no, onto social media it goes, and that looked like good fun. So yeah, very annoyed to have missed that, to be honest.
That wasn't you filming the away end, was it, Alfie? You were sat a bit further up, were you, in the stand?
No, my hands weren't free at the time. I was giving it a bit of this in the press area, I must admit.
You enjoyed that one?
Yeah, look, massive. I was going to mention it before Steve did. That was potentially some of the best limbs that I've seen from Saints in the last couple of years. It was the very last seconds of the game. No, exactly, yeah. But the very last second of the game, 5 minutes added on. There probably could have been a little bit more added on. And just to get that, what a moment and a massive win. I think it really unites everybody. I've seen so many people saying to me that it's brought everybody back round, I suppose, to anybody who was a little bit cautious, a little bit nervous, because you could see that Hull were tiring at the end, and Saints had the quality to make it pay. What I should do is I should start by saying, though, that this podcast has got me in a little bit of trouble this week, because we did a Q&A on a Monday, obviously, and when I was defending Flynn Downs and talking about him, I made what I thought was a clearly ironic reference to Swansea being a tippy-tappy team. And that was then relayed to Russell Martin. So 8:30 in the morning on Friday, I've just rolled out of bed to get to the press conference. He comes in all guns blazing. And I'm pretty sure I know who the suspect is who sent in the clip. So if you are watching, Matt Gill, the assistant manager, Gilly, I hope you can forgive me. I've forgiven you for stitching me up. But luckily, there wasn't too much to criticise this week, is there really? No, I think Glenn sort of touched on the first half was slow, sloppy, not really enough intensity there. But the stats from the third half time and then the 90 minutes were completely night and day. Real domination, really, in the last 30 minutes. And Glenn's right, there was a couple of chances before and after half time that they could have won the game. They could have quite easily won the game. But I think Saints would have felt equally aggrieved if they hadn't won. So yeah, a really nice evening. It made that trip worth it for so many people. I know that Steve didn't get there, but like you said, so many people jumping over barriers and getting onto emergency trains. It made it all worth it for them.
Let's talk about some of the standout performers yesterday, Glenn. I know we sort of touched on him briefly. Will Smallbone, obviously, with the goal, but that was all about Kyle Walker-Peters, wasn't it? And his vision there to sort of drive on and not give up. And he's been exceptional of late.
Yeah, he has. And there was always a danger that he'd struggle to get his head round playing in the Championship, because he is clearly too good for that. But he seems to be the sort of character who's just happy to get on with it. And he's getting better all the time, and he's now really playing as well as he ever has done for us, albeit at a lower level than what he's used to. So fair play to him. Long may it continue. I thought Flynn Downs, as Alfie mentioned, certainly came to the party in the second half. There just seems to be a lot more dynamism about him than I initially thought was possible. And I remember Alfie also mentioning that, he was knocked back at the start of his Saints career by the fact he had been ill and lost a lot of weight and all that sort of stuff. So, and he only looks like he weighs about 6 stone anyway. So, yeah, losing a lot of weight probably didn't do him any good. But I thought he was good. I mean, he was responsible for 2 of the sort of best bits of play, the sort of drive forward for what was the winning goal, and there was another one before that where he turned and teed it up for Smallbone at the edge of the box, and the keeper made a decent save. So I think Flynn Downs, if he carries on that way and carries on improving, I think he's going to be a very important player for us going forward. This season. And my old mate Sulemana did. He caused a few problems in the first half again, but. Yeah, I do wonder if we're ever going to get 90 minutes out of him, because he does seem to hit a wall at around sort of 55 minutes, and then you think, what is he doing out there? And that seems to be the consensus from the manager, because he's kind of, I don't think there's been a game where he hasn't been the first player taken off since he's got into the team. So hopefully he can build it up and be a threat for a little bit longer. But yeah, they were the main 3 for me.
It's been quite a turnaround as well for the defence, Steve. Obviously, Bednarek and Harwood-Bellis, there was that scare about whether he was going to be injured coming back from the under-21s, but it seems that they're really starting to form quite a formidable partnership, and you think it's going to be difficult for the captain to get back into the team when he's fit and he's playing. That was another great afternoon for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice problem for the manager to have, certainly, to have options in that area, because, I mean, it's not that long ago that we were panicking that, oh, God, Mason Holgate's going to have to play again. And yeah, I mean, let's be honest, it's still not perfect. Still only 1 clean sheet since March. But at least at this level, we know that we've got the firepower that we can outgun teams. So if we're only conceding 1, then we'd always fancy that we've got a pretty good chance. Still got Ross Stewart to come into the side at some point. I mean, God knows what's going on with that. Maybe next week, who knows? But that will give us another option up front. But defensively, we look. Yeah, I mean, we certainly look more organised now that particularly because we've got the midfield structure in front settled selection, and everyone seems to know what their role is now. I mean, obviously that's going to have to change on Tuesday with Ryan Manning getting his 5th booking. So someone's going to have to come in at left back. It might be that James Bree comes in on the right and we switch Walker Peters to the left. Maybe that might be the sensible choice. Yeah, not quite sure what other options at the moment. Larios obviously isn't going to be anywhere near fit for the foreseeable. So. Yeah, and that's the only real conundrum at the moment. I think selection-wise, the starting 11 probably picks itself now as long as everyone's fit. But of course, as we mentioned last week, this is a 3-game week, so it's possible there might be a bit of rotation, or maybe it's a case of get this game out of the way and assess it and maybe make changes for Saturday, where it's a short turnaround on both of them with the early kickoff. So yeah, I mean, who knows? As I say, it's nice that the defence seems to have largely got its house in order. As I say, it's not perfect, but it's a damn sight better than it was 6 to 8 weeks ago. That's for sure.
There was a bit of an update as well, Alfie, I think this week on Ross Stewart, because it certainly seems that Russell Martin now knows his strongest 11, and you get the impression that maybe Ross Stewart could be the missing piece. If he's as good as we think he's going to be, we've still got potentially one of the better strikers from the Championship to come into the side, which could just be that missing bit that we need.
Yeah, he's never specific on injuries and stuff like that, which is a little bit of a shame for us in the media and obviously for supporters as well. But he said to me, this 3-game week, we probably won't see him. So whether that includes Preston and Birmingham as well, and then it's another 7 days after that, which is a bit of a blow. But he did say that he was not going to be available before the October international break. That was right, and it's only a couple more weeks after that. But I think we will see him soon. And he's still not been in full training. He's dropped in and out of some contact sessions, so he's probably not ready. But I did ask Russell about the squad, how he looked after Saturday, and he said there's no other real issues. He thinks Taylor Howard-Bellis is coming through fine, which is obviously a massive boost. Because that means you just make the one change, like Steve said. Ryan Manning obviously comes out, and look, maybe it's not a bad time for Ryan to come out. A couple of mistakes, and I'm cautious of scapegoating players. I think there's been a couple of times this season where he's actually played fine. He's done exactly what the manager has asked him to do, but he obviously has had a couple defensive issues, picked up 5 yellow cards already. And like I say, Mason Holgate or James Bree will be whoever comes in, I imagine, Steve. Because Mason's probably still an option for Russell, despite not going so well at Middlesbrough. So yeah, I think it's a really settled team. Like you say, Ross could just come in, out for a bit of firepower from the bench. I don't know what you guys made of Che Adams' performance off the bench on Saturday.
Was it a couple of minutes he came on? How long was he on for, Glenn? I kind of missed that.
15, I think. Not entirely sure, to be honest. I didn't really notice him. Didn't really.
I spoke to a couple of supporters on the way back, and I think they there's a few things that people noticed. I was sort of head down working at the time, so I actually missed it a little bit. But I think people were saying he did all right, a couple of passes, but yeah, not too sure.
We'll get on to the Preston game in just a moment. Going to do TSP Player of the Week as well. Going to be a few standouts, I reckon, this week. I think we'll definitely need the Twitter poll. Steve, I'm going to come to you first. Your Player of the Week. Who will get the honours for you?
I think I'm going to go for Downs. That late assist. I mean, given that his role is largely a deep lying role, for him to be making that sort of lung busting run to the byline in the 95th minute shows the energy that he's now showing every week.
Glenn?
Yeah, I've said it already. Carl Walker-Peters for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. Alfie, anyone different?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say this for my guy for the Player of the Week, but I thought Sekou Mara actually came on, actually made a little bit of an impact, to be fair. I thought that there was a bit of intensity, sped things up, and that was probably a good change for him. I'm trying to think who else you could possibly say. You'd say Will Smallbone because he scored again, and I thought Taylor Howard-Bellis as well. I'd say Howard-Bellis was solid, and he looked better than Bednarek on the weekend, and that's no slight to Bednarek.
And Ryan Fraser doing what he was brought in to do as well, coming on and changing the game. And I know Russell Martin mentioned getting a booking, wasn't it? Giving away the foul and then getting the goal at the end. And that was quite a decent finish. So we'll get that poll on our social media and we'll crown our Player of the Week as well soon.